welcome back to the Top 4 podcast, third one since our hiatus. We might not know much about football, but at least we're getting some consistency back into the podcast. Good to see you boys again. And I've got to start off by welcoming back a veteran from the... I kept saying he was coming and people were like, is he going to come? Is he really? You're just saying it. But he's back. Nath is back. How you doing, Nath? You all right?
All good, man. You were talking about zero football knowledge then. I generally thought you were going to put a joke towards my way. It's going to come up. Let's get back into it, is it? New season, excited for it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to talk too much today about Liverpool, but we have got another 37 games to get into you at some point about Liverpool. And I'm sure we will. I think we're going to crack it on straight away and to talk about one of the key transfers that's sort of been rumbling on a little bit in the summer. Not the most fashionable player, but still quite a pivotal player, especially for England, and used to be Man United captain, Harry Maguire. Now, to put it short, in and out of the team last year. Well, he wasn't in and out of the team. He was out the team last year. And taking the captaincy off in the summer, Ten Hag has, and it looks like he was going to go West Ham. Started on the bench for the Man United last weekend, and it appears that he will not be going West Ham now because he thinks it's too good. I'm going to start off, Jack, as the resident Man United fan of the podcast. What's your thoughts on the whole situation?
I wish he was going, to be honest. Like you said, it's clear that he's not part of Ten Hag's plans, and I think he reiterated that on Monday when taking Lissandra Martinez off because of the yellow cards or whatever reason he actually came off. He still put Lindelof on, so whether that was because of the transfer saga that was going on in the background, but I just think it's a message to say, look, you're fourth in line here. Maguire's come out and said that he wants to stay and fight for his place, but I just think he's not gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just can't see him ever getting back into the team. I think having the armband last season was a lot of pressure for him. There's a lot of, when you watch games of like his mistakes from last season, it just looks like there's a heavy cloud over him. Like, he was just overthinking it while in possession. He's trying to play the football that Ten Hag wants, but playing out the back, and he just couldn't do it. Like, he was a much better 4 or 5 years ago, do I mean? And even for England, like, I feel like he's a much better player, but it's just something when he puts on that United top that is just not happening. So it seems like it's fallen through because of the confirmation or, the deal from United to Maguire to, like, the payoff or whatever it is, or whether it's not getting... I can't remember. Did he actually agree terms with West Ham? That happened first, right?
No, it's apparent that he didn't agree terms, and he's never agreed terms, never spoken to David Moyes. The only thing that was agreed was a fee between United and West Ham.
Yeah. I just think he has to go, regardless. Like, if he wants to stay and fight, that's fine, but I think Ten Hag has made it quite clear enough that he's not going to get back in the team. I don't know if you feel the same, Rob.
Yeah, he's not going to get back in the team, is he? I mean, they've been a little bit cruel to him up there, I personally think. Not treated him... A lot of people were on his back from day one. I don't know if it's the price tag or the fact that he's not a particularly, sexy player or whatever, but a lot of people had a target on his back the second he got there. I love Harry Maguire. Like, from an England point of view, I'm probably an England fan more than I am, a Yeovil fan or anything. In my lifetime, or what,
or anything.
Oh, I was talking about Inter Milan, but I was throwing a bone to the audio listeners who wouldn't be able to understand that reference. I think Harry Maguire is the greatest England player of my lifetime. I think the performances we see from him in England top have been constantly 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 at big tournaments and every qualifying game. And even when other players have been great, Harry Maguire has been consistently incredible. So I get a little bit upset seeing him treated so poorly at United. West Ham kind of seemed like a perfect club, so I don't really know where else he could go. And it's difficult for him to go anywhere without taking a wage cut now, because surely if he was captain, he's got one meaty, long contract. I don't want it to be a new Phil Jones, even though you can relate to Phil Jones for seeing out that contract, but could it go that way? It could potentially, couldn't it?
Yeah. Do you think it was wearing the armband at United, which is why he wasn't banging out the same performances for the international team?
Well, no, I think, I think he's been great for England. I don't think his England form dropped at all. Looking at United form, I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's been a bit of a weird period since he joined, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's a sort of a some of the United transfers last few years have had a really short lifespan. Like even by the next transfer window, people have forgotten the excitement around a player coming in a few months before. I think maybe it's just a casualty of that ever-changing feeling at United at the minute. Yeah.
Would you take him at Liverpool next? Would you have him next to Big Verge? Because I don't think Kanate, Matip, or anyone else is doing as good of a job as they should be at the moment.
Yeah, been a bit of hit and miss, haven't it, at the back Liverpool as of late. Definitely in desperate need of getting another centre back.
Is Harry Maguire the man? Is Harry Maguire here?
There was that joke going around, wasn't it, the other day on social media about potentially putting a bid in it, see if Chelsea will go for him. But no, Harry Maguire is not the man, I don't think, to answer our troubles at the moment. I think with Maguire, West Ham would have been a great move for him, I think. Starting off, the only problem is with Harry Maguire, I think he's been at this club for, 4 or 5 years now at United. He's on top whack money there, a couple of $100,000 a week. Like Rob said, he's going to have to take a pay cut if he goes anywhere else. And let's be fair, if I'm a professional footballer, I want to get on the highest wage possible, even if you're not getting that much game time. Fair enough, he wants to fight for it, but like I said, it's going to be a one-way fight because I don't think Ten Hag's going to give him much time at all. He'll probably be playing with the under-21s most of the time, if anything, this season. But fair play to him for sticking out and wanting to fight for it. But again, I don't think there's much of a fight there. He's not going to get anywhere with it. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. If there's a couple of injuries in the United squad, if he may get back into the rotation somehow. But yeah, unless Varane or Martinez tear their ACL or something, I can't see him getting in the team whatsoever.
Hey, well, how great was it last year when Ten Hag stuck him up front towards the end of the game?
Class.
If that was his career, I'd be happy with that. That would be brilliant.
Tactical genius.
Slabhead up front.
Yeah.
Do we not think he's better than West Ham? I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I think a few of us talked before about West Ham being in trouble this year, but there's no way they go down with Harry Maguire in defence. I think people have forgotten about how good of a defender he actually is. Okay, maybe he's not going to win you the league. Maybe he's not, and that's what United are aspiring to be in the next two seasons, really. But I think he probably thinks he's better than West Ham, and I agree with him. And he's probably thinking, I think there's been a clause in his contract where because they got Champions League, he gets a bit more money, and he's saying, pay me the money, and maybe I will go to West Ham. Realistically, I think, I could see him going to... he plays for Tottenham. There's no doubt about that. They just brought...
Yeah, I think anyone could play Tottenham at this moment.
But Tottenham are big. Tottenham are a better club than West Ham right now. So they brought on Davinson Sanchez. Do you know what I mean? Maguire gets near that team. I feel like, Maguire and Botman for Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
That to me sounds good. Do you know what I mean? So he's probably thinking, I don't want to go West Ham. So I could see him waiting it out 6 months, maybe wait for an injury crisis at one of those clubs. Chelsea as well. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I could see him. He probably thinks he's better than West Ham, and I agree with him.
Yeah, I also agree with you. I think West Ham isn't the right team for him. You got to remember that Maguire's at 30 now. Should be the peak, or the peak years that he should be playing every game. I could see him at Brighton. It might be a bit of a rogue choice, but I could see him at Brighton. I think that he would do well there, and they're a good team to maybe push for Euro places if they keep having good seasons.
What, Brighton's bigger than West Ham?
Sorry?
What, Brighton is a step up more than West Ham? Do you think?
I think so. Definitely.
I can see him going to Saudi Arabia at this rate. Everyone else is going over there.
It wouldn't be a shock these days anymore, would it?
Anyone's going over there at the moment. There, big paydays. Can't fault people to do that.
But also, I think if Harry's just kicking his heels on the bench in the Premier League, Southgate's going to pick him. Do you know what I mean? So he's probably as well thinking, well, if I sit on the bench for United and play now and again, I probably still play for England. But if he goes to Saudi, obviously people are waiting. People are waiting to see if Hendo gets called up for England. That's sort of throws that in doubt a bit with the Euros coming up in the summer. But yeah,
interesting one. I think he has to look for a move away shortly, though. Like you said, 6 months, January, maybe see what other teams' situations are at the back. But I just think for his own career, like, he has to move. It's clear that Ten Hag doesn't want him in the team, so I think he has to just take that on the head. Maybe he's just waiting for the right opportunity. Do I mean, maybe he just didn't fancy West Ham, or there's been some issues behind the scenes, but he's got to wait for the right team, maybe. I don't know. But Spurs is the one that immediately comes to mind. Like, if he was to go elsewhere, I could see him in the Spurs shirt 100% for sure.
definitely. And I think, touching on what Rob said, I think he's got a load of stick within the last 2 or 3 years. Some of it justified, some of it not justified. So if he wants to stay there and sort of, get the money in a little bit for the next 6 months or agree a deal, those fans haven't really given him much of a reason to look after the club. So fair play to him. Another transfer, which is sort of happening in the last, few hours, is David Raya to Arsenal from Brentford. Obviously a keeper that maybe came to the limelight in the last couple of seasons for Brentford. Ball-playing defender, ball-playing goalkeeper. And now Arsenal have signed him with Ramsdale, obviously at the club. A lot of people are, questioning, is this like a battle? Are they bringing in the keeper to start? What's our thoughts on that transfer?
For me, looking at that, it's just on a loan, this transfer, isn't it? So for me, it doesn't really make that much sense. I don't know why they'd want to bring him in and give the competition for Ramsdale when he's not going to possibly be there in a year's time. So Ramsdale's doing such a good job at Arsenal, I can't see Raya challenging for it. But like I said, with Arsenal now having Champions League football, it's always good having a really good backup keeper for them. And it could be the justification of bringing him in, to be honest, for the other cup games that they're going to be playing in. Have Ramsdale in the Premier League, focus on that, try and charge for the title again. And then you have Raya then in goals for Champions League and maybe the other cups. But like I said, it'd be interesting to see how he is rotated in the squad.
But has that ever actually happened, like, for a big club? Has they ever actually, like, proper rotated 2 keepers like that when they're both 2 class keepers? Like, I'm not sure. Like, people mentioned it and they discuss it, but really, they might do it for a little bit, but then there's one keeper who ends up coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean, we got the idea of cup keepers has been like a bit more popular the last few years. But in terms of like a full rotation, I don't think we've really seen it. And not when someone's firing,
The only thing that's going to the top of my head right now is obviously last season Fabianski played in the league for West Ham. Areola played in goal for the Europa Conference. Class keeper from PSG. Surprised he didn't get into the West Ham team longer. And now he started the first game of the season. So it looks like he is going to be the main keeper now for West Ham. So that's just one off the top of my head, where I think last year Areola was the Europa League, obviously won the Europa League. But really, I can't see why they would sign Brentford's number 1 keeper, a keeper that's been linked with Tottenham. Surprised Tottenham didn't get that deal done. He was even linked with, I feel like he was linked with United a little bit as well in the summer. So for Arsenal to get him, I feel like that's something Arteta's probably, I think he's going to play, is my opinion. Ramsdale made a couple of, not howlers, but a couple of mistakes towards the end of the season. So yeah, I think he's going to gradually become the number 1. But
yeah, I agree. I think it's only a loan. I might be wrong here, but I think it's a loan to buy due to financial fair play. So I think they had to take him on a loan for the season, but they've already agreed a fee with him from next on. So I think he is going to be a permanent Arsenal player. This whole thing about ball-playing goalkeepers, I think Arteta's... When Ramsdale won there, I think they made it all quite clear that they really wanted Ramsdale, and obviously he's proven why he's at Arsenal. Like, got relegated 2 or 3 times. He's come to Arsenal, has played really well for him. But I think Arteta's just following the rest of the top 6 teams in terms of Ramsdale isn't that kind of ball playing from the back. He's just a really, really good shot stopper. There's some clips of him, kind of looking a bit ropey at the back, but, Man City did it first with Edison, then Liverpool did it with Alisson. Now Ten Hag's got Onana. They got their man in terms of a ball-playing goalkeeper who's really good and accurate at passing. So I just think that Arteta's following the trend in terms of getting the similar style of goalkeeper in to kind of suit that play. And that's why I think Raya's going to actually take the number 1 shirt at Arsenal and take it off Ramsdale, which is unfair on Ramsdale, because obviously the whole thing, when you look at other clubs, it was the right time for goalkeepers to move on and get a new star in. It's just that Ramsdale's already there, but maybe Arteta's just trying to follow the trend and keep up with the other teams that are, especially after their season last year in terms of almost winning the title. They need to adapt to that trend now of getting these mad keepers on the ball, and Raya is that man for Arsenal, I think. So he's going to be the number 1. I'll be surprised if he isn't.
And with what you're saying, Arteta's not going to be like, oh yeah, this game we'll play a ball-playing keeper, and then this game we won't. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be something that once he makes that move, he's going to stick to it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how quickly he makes that move. Now, moving on, last podcast, I sort of touched on it before. We want to introduce new segments, and some people have been commenting on our videos or social media saying, you should do this, you should do that. And one segment that we're going to introduce is that we're going to be each of us are going to be covering an international league and becoming experts on that international league. Maybe, a league not in Britain that you're used to, and sharing some knowledge, some quirky facts about the league, and, just, sharing the world, putting the spotlight on the world of football, not just UK football. And this week, giving us our first sort of review, as he's new to the podcast, we're putting all the pressure on him. So Rob is going to be, for the rest of the season, our Turkish football expert. So I'm going to give it over to Rob to sort of, lead the next bit.
I can't wait for this, by the way. I can't wait. This is going to be great.
Same.
Well, wait no longer. Thanks, James, for saying it's because I'm new and not because it was my idea. Lovely.
Okay, all right. It was
Gotta give him the
Rob's
props.
idea. This whole thing was Rob's idea. He dropped it in the WhatsApp the other day, and we were all like, yes, that's sick. So he's been working hard on this as well, so I'm looking forward to it.
So the Turkish Superliga, I adore. It's a pretty great league. As you think about the leagues, probably right now, the leagues where people go to towards the end of their career for a half-decent payday when they can't quite cut it in the Prem. You've got USA and Saudi Arabia. I think Turkey is like the bastard child out of those. Like it's not the highest level. It's people who are struggling. I described it to a friend the other day as one big Everton in terms of their transfer policy, and it seemed to sum it up quite well. My third favourite player ever is Stephen Corker. I'll tell you the other two another time. And when Stephen Corker was struggling for playing time in the Premier League, he went over to Turkey. So I started following some of his games, and yeah, some absolute gems in there. And in fact, I wrote an article for this magazine, right? It's self-promotion last year, where I looked at the Turkish league and all the players that they had in there. And we had Dele Alli, we had Nathan Redmond, we had Demba Ba, we had that Enner Valencia. Stephen Corker was there as well. Pirlo was manager of the club. And that article aged like milk, because like a week later, half of them were gone. And then by the end of the season, none of them are there anymore. So we've got a great mix of these ex-Premier League players coming in. And it's also great because in the last 4 years, there have been 4 different winners each season. So it's you don't really, I'm not sure if there is a league as big as that has had that, to be honest. I mean, you look at any of the, it's up for debate whether this cracks like the top 10 divisions in the world. I don't know, but I can't think of any leagues of a higher status than the Turkish league, which has that varying change. So right now we've got some great teams, great players. Nani's over there. Nani's going everywhere around the world. Nani's basically interrailing right now with his career. He went to Orlando and Australia, and now he's ended up at Adana Demspor with Patrick Kluivert as his manager. I mean, do you want to week in, week out want to see Patrick Kluivert manage Nanny, because I do.
Quality.
This sounds like a lad's holiday you're lining up for us, Rob.
It sounds like
not a podcast.
I'm just waiting to
I get my hairline done as well when we're out
a
there.
little bit more money and a little bit less hair is going to be the perfect time. I was trying to map out what clubs are the closest to hair transplant clinics, but we'll do a graphic for a future podcast. We got great players. We got I'm just going to bash out some ex-Premier League players. We got Leroy Fer. We got Federico Makeda. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's just gone over there like this week, and Fred went as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that sums up the league very well, doesn't it? These players who while have been getting a lot of time in the Premier League, there's just not quite been able to match up to the level that of the team they were at, and now they need to go somewhere which is going to pay the same amount of money more or less, but isn't going to quite cut it. Wilfried Zaha gone to Galatasaray. Edin Dzeko made his debut for Fenerbahce, walked straight in as captain, scored 2 goals in the first game. Playing in the same team as Michy Batshuayi, Josh King, that guy Tadic who used to play at Southampton, and Ryan Kent. I mean, if that wasn't...
They can't all play together, surely. What, Josh King, Batshuayi and Dzeko all up front together. Bloody hell.
Absolutely. That is a proper late night career mode sort of team. You got Angelino with Galatasaray. He's only 26. I thought he was at least 30. Angelino. Feels like he's been...
Oh, that ex-City defender.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't look 26, does he?
Icardi's there. Dries Mertens. Torreira got a red card in the first game of the season. Love it. Istanbul, Basaksehir. They got Chadley. They're managed by Emery, that guy who used to play for Newcastle, who's a massive racist. So, then characters galore in this league. And the thing is, but by the time it gets to January, it's going to be a fresh slate already. You know, there's such a change of players every few months. It feels a little bit like Masters football, you know, where you see all these ex-players rock up. There's a whole lot of fun, and I can't wait to keep a closer eye on that. There's an okay quality of football as well. I mean, it sounds like I'm taking the piss. The quality of football's all right. Galatasaray away must be, you know, a bucket list game for a lot of football fans. Great atmosphere. And yeah, I'm going to be here giving you...
So, like,
dropping
every few weeks, you're just going to let us know what's been happening in the Superliga, who's winning, any drama. Because I want to hear it. Like, I definitely want to hear it, for sure.
Mate, you'll hear it, because I'm going to know... I already do know this like the back of my hand. Some great team names, lots of them finishing in Sport and stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of great content coming this way, including what I've said now. I thought that was pretty good content as well. I haven't got...
Are you supporting, Rob?
Oh, as I was saying, I haven't got a team. Well, when Stephen Corker first went out, he played for Alanyaspor, and that's where Leroy Fer is, so it might be them. But there's also a team called Pendikspor, which sounds a little bit like Prendy, so I'm clutching at straws, but they're the smallest team in the league, and they haven't got any token ex-Premier League players.
Yeah, leave them out. That's not good for content.
I thought you were going to say their name. I'm going to hair transplant places nearby.
You don't know me well enough to make that joke. Come on.
I just wanted to see you rounding it back to that.
I really like Kasim Passer, because every time I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, Danny Drinkwater played 3 games with them. That must have been a wild time.
3 games.
3 games, wild. Mad.
But I'm going to pick a team. Maybe we can all pick our own team, and maybe not one of the big hitters. But you boys are all right, because you'll have all your players you recognise from your teams. Yeah, Liverpool there, won't you? No ex-Yeovil players there, I don't think, or Bolton. But yeah, it's a wonderful league. Wonderful memories are about to be made.
So who's top of the league at the moment?
I don't know. It's only been 1 game. Fenerbahce won.
Fenerbahce won a little bit. Wait, did that team win?
Yeah, I think they won.
Well,
I'm not being
they're probably
judged for not knowing a league table, by the way. Who looks at the league table after the first week?
Yeah, that's fair, but they're probably top, aren't they? They begin with A. They're probably up there by alphabetical order. Have you got a quiz for us? No, you haven't. That's fine. That's fine.
Name the last 4 winners of the Turkish Super League. Extra points if you get the year.
Oh God.
Actually,
Yeah, is Fenerbahce one of them?
it's actually not.
I know the answer to this because Rob asked me the other day, and I actually got it. So I'm gonna leave it to you two to try it quickly. 20 seconds.
You got it, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Galatasaray, are they there?
Yeah, they won it last year. Galatasaray, 22, 23.
There's one. Trabzonspor.
Year before, 21, 22. I'm aware of them because of the whole Daniel Sturridge situation. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Isn't it funky?
The only other team I know is Besiktas.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
They won it the year before.
And then the last one, which I don't think the boy's gonna get, is
The last one is sorry, James. Istanbul Başakşehir. That's the one. That's the one
I'm
managed
just going to say that.
by Emery. And now they've had quite a few ex-Prem players go over there. I think for a period, perhaps no, a year or two ago, they had Ryan Babel, Skirtle, and I think Gael Clichy saw out his career there as well. So they were Denver Bar, of course, yeah, Denver Bar there as well. So they've had
I think they had Adebayor up front as well for a little bit.
I don't. Adebayor's been everywhere, isn't he?
Check your notes. Do your research next time.
I look forward to the updates, Rob. Quality.
Yeah. Cheers for not making a catty comment there. That was nice. I'm with some people.
No, mate, honestly, smashed it there, and I look forward to your regular Turkey updates. There we go, right now, and he's got the magazine up. I'm not going to reveal who me, Jack, and Nath. I think we'll leave the reveal for the next time. But every few episodes we'll do a reveal of a league that's out there, and in about a month's time we'll check in with Rob and see who else has moved. To be fair, like you said, we've got another 3 weeks of the Turkish transfer window to be open, so you're probably going to have an absolute list of new players to reel off.
I don't think there'll be any less of 10 players who I can make you laugh just by saying their name by the end of the window. Will be at Turkey. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Look forward to it. Another thing that got brought up in the comments was there's not many fantasy football podcasts out there. And sort of, for those who don't know what now I'm not even going to explain what fantasy football is. People who know what fantasy football is, you pick the players, you get points for clean sheets, goals, assists, all of that drama. And a few of us in the podcast are all avid fantasy players. If you haven't already, I don't know if you could join it. We've got a league, a top 4 league, which you can join if you haven't already. I think you can join mid-season, maybe. And so I think we're just going to sort of go through, and it's been the first week, a few shocks, a few teams looking good, and just to sort of go over who we're liking, who we're picking. I think Jack, you wanted to maybe start off on this one with how your first week went, and who you're looking at picking up.
Yeah, when it comes to FPL, I've been loving it for years, but there's a lot of FPL players out there that are all like stat based. They plan their weeks in advance. I haven't really got to that stage yet, mainly because of the amount of teams that I look after. I run one with my mate Lewis in work. Shout out Lewis on Fantrax. That's another sort of fancy football thing. We've got our draft, which no one will care about, but it's a huge part of our lives. The draft that we do is such a good way of playing FPL. But yeah, the normal teams we always do on the side anyway. Just keep it running, see how well we can do. Decent first week. I think I got 79 points. Rob, you had a 77 or around there.
77 on the dot. Yeah.
77. There were some players that did let me down. I got a return off pretty much all of my team apart from 3, which is Gabriel with that last minute injury. And I think a lot of people actually knew that before it, but I didn't change it in time. Ødegaard and Rashford, obviously the poor United performance. So overall, the rest of my players, my 2 defenders got an assist. So no clean sheets, but 2 assists from Estupinan and Chilwell. Salah, Diaby, Mitoma, Pedro, Haaland, all returned. Brilliant. Captain Haaland, normal service resuming. So just very briefly, I've made one change this week, and it's actually an Arsenal in for an Arsenal out. I've spent an extra 0.1 million in getting rid of Odegaard for Bukayo Saka. Now, not too much of a reason behind it. I just think Saka's got more involvement into more chance of scoring goals. And for that 0.1 of a million, I think it's very much worth it. I'm still taking a risk with Gabriel, obviously with his last minute injury, but he's rumoured to be back this season. And I know a lot of people would have swapped it out for Saliba. Probably stay with Saliba if you had him, but I'm going with him again. I did mention in the last podcast I'm keeping my eye on Pedro Neto because I think he could be a really good cheap differential for your team. Because I go with the classic. Let's say it's not classic, but I spend all my money on the starting 11. Don't play anyone on my bench, so my bench is pretty much useless. So that's the one I'm going to be keeping my eye on now. And my last could be quite controversial. I'm not captaining Haaland this week. I think them at home to Newcastle is going to be a surprisingly close game. I think Newcastle defence might actually shut out Haaland pretty well, but he's probably going to prove me wrong. So I'm going to captain Salah at home versus Bournemouth and see if the Egyptian King can reward my risk. Rob, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think bringing Saka in for Odegaard is probably a good transfer. I was bigging up Darwin last week. I didn't start, so I've put in Isak. Yeah, I thought he looked bloody good. And we've always idea he was very injury prone. It was only last season that he's been injured in his career, like for a long period in his career. So I'm going to show a bit of faith in him. Before the start of the season, I put Matt Turner as my second keeper because I knew he was rumoured to go to Forest. I thought, if I put him in before he starts playing, I can get him at a cheaper price. And he went to Forest and he started. So I personally think from a wheeler dealer approach, that was quite good. I don't agree with not putting money on the bench. We mentioned playing keeper rotation in real football. I think that's quite key for me in fantasy. So I'm happy I got 2 starting keepers. I've got Onana as my other one. But I am not going to captain Haaland. I don't know who I'm going to captain. Like you say, I got a few Liverpool players, but I like to be ballsy, and I think I'll captain Brennan Johnson against Sheffield United. Certainly could bottle that before 6:15 tomorrow night, but we will see.
Yeah, I agree on Isaac. No one's going to care about this, but he was my second pick in draft. I absolutely love that boy. He's not on my normal team, probably down to a price thing because I've gone with Haaland and Salah, but what a player. What a baller.
Great player.
Baller.
Unbelievable. And he is untouchable in draft. I've already had some people want to trade him. Not up for trade all season. Baller. Brilliant. So yeah, maybe if people do enjoy the fantasy little things, then maybe we can do even little short specialized episodes on the side or something. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm a big fantasy player. So let me know your thoughts on that.
Definitely. I have a love-hate relationship with fantasy. I love doing it, and I hate seeing my points by the end of it. I have made just one transfer, and I think it's a little bit risky. Well, it's not really. I've got rid of a maybe future Fulham player for a current Fulham player. I had Damari Gray kicking his heels on my bench like he is in real life right now, and I've swapped him out for the man, Bobby Gutorva Reed. I think Bobby Reed is going to have a really solid season. Are you turning your head at my selection or my pronunciation, Rob? Cordova?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do. He's just happy I picked him. I think he's going to have a really good season this year. Mitro looks like he's off sulking to Saudi, and I think that's my one tip. That's what I'm going to bore people with.
Yeah,
Bobby Reed's going to do well this year.
He had a really good preseason, didn't he, young Bobby? I think he banged a few times in preseason.
I also think he had a good season last season.
Yeah, not a bad pick.
When he went up with Cardiff, he just, I don't think he scored all season with Cardiff, a couple of years back in the Premier League, but he's turned into a proper player. So that is it. And the only thing I've got to watch is Pau Torres. Well, he should start now, but I've got Pau Torres in. I thought, he's going to ball out, and he didn't even start the first game. But with Tyrone Mings out, I think he'll start a bit more. But yeah, apart from that, let's just see what happens. All right, lads. Well, it's been good to sort of get the four of us all together. Nath, lovely to have you back. Nath, you're not doing the fantasy this year, so it's not like we've left you out on purpose, but I'm sure we'll hear more from you next episode, especially when we talk more about Liverpool. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, well, I know you enjoyed the show, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, show your mum, show your dad, all of that. And we will be back next week for another episode of the Top 4 podcast.